with Doug Holzaken. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle, they're rushing for this this energy transition and ignoring the realities we talked about. Higher costs, fewer jobs. We're still going to have bad air quality, and we're still going to have the environmental hazards that are out there. So I still don't quite understand why they're pushing their ideology when the facts don't back up what they're pursuing. And particularly today, when it came out, the G7 made their big press conference that even when it was all done, they couldn't decide what to do about coal. So other than we're not going to finance coal, but then China and Japan are still going to finance coal around the world. China is burning 53% of all the coal. So we're still going to have emission problems around the world until they could. So I can see globally they have a problem. So my question, what will happen to the United States economy if this radical left socialism movement rushes to go ahead with these unrealistic climate goals while China needs to expand theirs? What will happen to our economy?
There's a good chance that if it's done too rapidly, we will suffer not just high prices and credit distribution, a recession, unemployment, and all of the flows that come with that. This is the important part of the production portfolio in the United States, and the rapid disallowance of the use of carbon-based fuels is going to be a hard thing to adjust to, even if it's done slowly over a long period of time. It's done rapidly. These timelines are extraordinarily short. It poses great damage. I've had two colleagues, Helene and Dan Goldberg, take a look at our legislation for regulatory approaches to try to hit this target of the electricity sector. You can't do it. It's too fast.
Thank you. Dobbins, if I could ask you, because you and I talked earlier, when I had my Normet and Canalco in the aluminum industry, we also built a big aluminum plant up in Oswego, New York. So I have some familiarity with it, but that's why it was important to hear from you, because we were told the electricity plays a big part in making aluminum. So if they persist in pushing this ideology rather than science, if they persist on this, what would be the impact on the aluminum industry with higher utility costs?
It's competitiveness, Congressman. Again, we have competitors all over the world, and we have, again, competitors who understand the strategic importance of aluminum. And so they will be more than happy to fill any gaps that we leave in the market. Again, we're giving up good-paying American jobs. That's going to be part of a big part of the price that we will pay on this. And again, we will lose not only in the aluminum industry, but in our downstream industries, because it's going to be more expensive for them to get their materials from our industry. So it loses all the way around, and again, we're helping to fuel the economy of other nations that are not our best friends and do not have are not strategic allies of ours.
I think we've already touched on it, but I need to hear your words as well. So as we transition to 100% of energy power by 2035, eliminating oil and gas, and I know the PJM market, the renewables are less than 10%. So we're going to have a real challenge on our hands. The PJM market, which is one of the largest energy distribution that we have in this country. But what happens if we make this transition in a short time frame based on ideology? How realistic is it that they can do this without dramatically increasing utility bills?
Well, we think it is highly unlikely because there are so many obstacles. Number one, like you said, it's going to be very expensive. Number two, it's not going to allow for a technology-based and investment and incentives in advanced coal technologies, whether that's coal first, CCUS, hydrogen, which would also allow us to compete internationally because right now China is building 247,000 megawatts are either in construction or will be built over the next decade. That's more than the entire U.S. coal fleet, which is 234,000. So unless they make commensurate agreements, then we're not going to see, you could retire every coal plant in the United States and it's not going to have a meaningful impact on greenhouse gas emissions. In addition, as it relates to reliability and resilience, as we think about what happened in California, 2 million customers were interrupted. In ERCOT, 4 million customers lost their power. In MISO and SPP, in the history of SPP, the Southwest Power Pool, this is the first time they have ever had a blackout. I would submit to you that the coal fleet in MISO and SPP outperformed and was the most resilient of all the fuel sources. It was able to double its capacity factor from the year before, and MISO and SPP have all agreed that without the coal fleet, they could have had widespread outages like California and ERCOT. We've seen a lot of analysis, and even in PJM that has a high reserve margin, that even with a small amount of coal retirements, and we have extreme weather like we had across the Midwest, that they would also be subject to blackouts, but also to skyrocketing electricity prices. In MISO, when we had this event, and SPP, power prices skyrocketed almost 40%. During the polar vortex, power prices in PJM skyrocketed 2,200%, because we're beginning to see the cracks and what happens when we go too far, too fast.
I'd like to recognize the chairman in waiting again. Are you ready for? You're ready this time. So, Chairman, you've got 5 minutes.
Right. Okay.